Thank you again for joining. I'm going to turn it over now to Ms. Monica Dean, who is our Director of Housing here at LISC New York.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of LISC New York and our partners on the call, I would like to thank you all for joining us this afternoon to hear more information regarding this request for proposal. So I am the Director of Housing at LISC New York, where I'm responsible for overseeing and managing all of our housing programs that are all geared towards helping organizations build capacity to help them expand opportunities in the areas where they provide services. And so we are very excited about the New York Land Opportunity Program and the benefits of the program, due to the services and resources that we are able to provide our faith-based organizations and mission based organizations across the state of New York. And so, as I, briefly mentioned, already, together with residents and all of our partners, LISC is committed to working with communities across New York State to help them create places where families are happy to live, work, and play while they are also doing businesses in the places that they call home. And for those of you who may be unfamiliar with our organization, so LISC, or the Local Initiative Support Corporation, is a national nonprofit community development financial institution that provides services in communities across 40 cities in the United States. And so we work in underinvested communities and provide them with capital, strategy, and technical assistance, again, to become better places where low and moderate income people can succeed and really thrive. This particular office, the LISC New York office, is our flagship office, was created in 1980. And so for the past 40 plus years, we have supported lots of our organizations and agencies and partners, provide services to really help them create more equitable, inclusive, and sustainable communities across the country, but for LISC New York here across the state of New York. Next slide. And so I'll just share a little background about the goals of LISC New York's New York Land Opportunity Program. And so our program was originally created back in 2017, working with mission-driven organizations and faith-based organizations, all of whom own land and have an interest in developing affordable housing on the land that they own, but many of them lack the capacity and just development knowledge to do so. And through this program, through the team of professionals that we provide, we are able to work with these organizations to bring these projects to fruition. And so our team of professionals include a legal consultant. We work with Goldstein Hall, and they've been working with us for a very long time on NYLOP. We work with ESKW, architectural firm, and we also have a development consultant by the name of Jimmy Miller, who you will meet and hear from in just a few minutes. And so this particular RFP was a part of our 2023 cohort participants, where we selected 7 faith-based organizations and mission-driven organizations to participate. And so we released in April of 2023 this request for expression of interest, received applications, and again selected the 2023 cohort. And, I do want to mention in 2022 in the programs, the cohorts prior to 2023 were specifically focused in New York City. And we were excited to work closer with the Attorney General's office, that of Letitia James, to expand the NYLOP program to include and support organizations across the state of New York. So again, we were delighted and happy to be able to have a statewide NYLOP program. And so that's just a brief overview of the program. You can go to our website and you may find some more details, but definitely wanted just to share just a brief background and overview and goals of the program. Next, I would like to introduce Pastor Paul Pert from New Testament Temple Church of God, whose organization is put out this RFP that we are supporting today to help select a development partner for their project. And you will hear a little bit more about the scope of the RFP. But I would like to introduce Pastor Pert to just share his vision and share with everyone the type of co-developer that they are looking for, to work with them and to support New Testament Temple Church of God in this project. So Pastor Pert is an ordained bishop with the Church of God in Cleveland, Tennessee, and has served as senior pastor of the New Testament Temple Church of God in the Bronx, New York since 1994. He's the founder and president of the Good Neighbors Community Outreach Agency, a faith-based not-for-profit organization founded in 2002. Included among his many recognitions is the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award for voluntary service. Under his leadership, New Testament Temple Church of God, Good Neighbors, is currently undertaking a building development initiative in the Bronx, New York, which we are all so excited about. And again, happy to work with Pastor Pert and his leadership at New Testament Temple Church of God. So Pastor Pert, I'm going to turn it over to you to share a little bit about New Testament and the project and, what we're hoping to accomplish throughout this RFP process.
Thank you very much, and greetings and salutations to everyone on this panel, especially Jimmy Miller, Laura Woody, Monica Dean, and everyone else who are viewing this presentation. Thank you very much. As has been said, I have been pastoring here for a senior pastor for the past 30 years. And under my leadership, our church has been very, very missional in terms of outreach into the community in various ways, from food pantry to GED, computer literacy, clothing distribution, both locally and also globally. And the one thing that we have always challenged with is the human and financial resources to expand our work and ministry. So we own this property here in the Bronx. It is a sizable property for New York. Specifically, it is 275 feet at the front by 100 feet deep, having 2 buildings on the property at the present time. And we desire to also do affordable housing. Our dream includes senior housing, as well as, if possible, housing for families. So that's a part of the package that we want to present. Our church has grown over the years, and so we see a need to also expand our worship facilities, as well as to provide better community facilities. So this project would essentially have 3 parts in scope: expansion of the worship facilities, building affordable housing, as well as providing community facilities to serve the community better. So if there are any further questions, addition, I would love to give more details in this process. Thank you very much.
Okay, Pastor Pert, thank you so much for that. I would now like to introduce Jimmy Miller. As I mentioned earlier, Jimmy is LISC New York's development consultant working with us throughout this process. And so again, we're happy to have Jimmy and his team working with us. Jimmy has been in this industry and doing this work for quite some time now, and has had experience and working and leading development of more than 11,000 housing units across the state of New York and beyond. As you can see, he worked for the Secretary to the Governor of New York, the Deputy General Mayor of NYCHA, and the President of New York Housing Trust Fund Corporation. And so happy again to have Jimmy on the team, and I'm going to turn it over to him to walk us through the scope of the RFP and provide a little bit more details on the request for a proposal and that we're looking for as part of this process. And so we definitely want to leave time for questions, but if you have questions regarding anything that's been said throughout this presentation, please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A section here, not in the chat, but in the Q&A, and we will get to every single question. So Jimmy, I'm going to turn it over to you to provide maybe a little more details on the project, but just walk us through the scope and what we're looking for in the proposals.
I got it. Thank you, Ms. Dean. Been lucky enough to work with Ms. Dean, and for the last couple of months, I've had the privilege of working with Pastor Pert. Pastor Pert outlined his vision for this development. So my role, along with members of the team that LISC New York has put together, which includes Goldstein and Hall, which is our attorney, and ESKW, which is our architect. We comprise the team of experts that are being funded by the NYLOP program to assist Pastor Pert with taking this vision and dream and turning it into a reality. So, and we've taken the vision and we've taken the concept that we've been able to develop with Pastor Pert and his architect, Paul Castrucci, and we've been able to develop this RFP. And the framework of this RFP, as Pastor Pert pointed out, is 3 separate components. There's a residential component that will consist of 98 residential units. Should make a note that 74 units are as of right. So this project will require a zoning change to increase the FAR from 1.95 to 3.9, and to increase the height from 30 feet to 65 feet to enable us to get to 98 units. And the project will require the demolition of a building, and it will require the constructing of 2 towers, and as Pastor Pert said, also expanding their existing sanctuary space as well. So as of now, we have schematic designs. So we would be working with our team and Pastor Pert to take that concept design to the next stage. The next slide, please. The scope of work, again, we just touched on some of that, but again, working with Pastor Pert and his architect and our team, we would be taking the concept plan that we have now, and we would be refining that as we go through the development process. We'd be looking for a co-developer that has the financial capacity to make the customary guarantees, including construction guarantees and completion guarantees and operating deficit guarantees to ensure the financial viability of this development. expecting co-developer to work with the church to manage the additional consultants that will be needed to develop this development. Partnering with the New Testament to develop the funding applications and to apply for the funding that's needed, the funding development. Make sure that we're being responsive to the community, neighborhood, and government interests that are associated with this development. And very important to LISC New York and their goals and objectives is making sure that the co-developer has their values align with our values in terms of promoting disadvantaged, minority, women-owned, and BIPOC-led enterprises, and making sure that we use them in this undertaking to the greatest extent possible. So next slide, please. Again, continuing with the scope of work. We talked about the financing plan. We also talked about the guarantees already. This project will most likely require us to get the low-income housing tax credit funding. So we will need to acquire an equity investor, and we'll be working with the church and our team in LISC New York to undertake that enterprise. Hiring a general contractor or construction manager to prosecute the construction work, and developing the ownership entity that we will need to bring this project to completion as well. Next slide, please. The evaluation criteria, which is outlined in the RFP, consists of evaluating the co-developers and its team's experience, making sure that you've done at least 2 projects of a comparable size in the last 10 years, looking at the experience of your key team members, your key business term. The RFP requires that you outline your key business term, especially those that relate to the share of developers' fees that you're willing to share with the church, the share of cash flow that you're willing to share with the church. You will have to fund 100% of the pre-development expenses. So those are the key business terms that you will be required to respond to in your response to the RFP. Your methodology for assuring that this development will be carried out in a timely and expeditious manner. We will be looking at your financial capacity. The RFP calls for you to provide us with 2 years of audited statements. We'll be looking at the audit statement to look at your liquidity and your making sure that you're not overly leveraged. But that'll be part of the rating as well. And last, but certainly not least, again, looking at your experience with prior experience and your plan with respect to MBE, WBE, BIPOC, both the employment aspect of it and the contracting aspect as well. Next slide, please. This is the timeline that's outlined in the RFP. I'm going to go to the questions. We'll be taking questions today, but questions can also be submitted to us by the deadline, which is Thursday, February 22nd. The questions are due. We will respond to your questions in writing no later than Monday, February 26th. And your responses to the proposals are due Monday, March 4th, no later than 3 p.m. And there are no exceptions to this deadline. Next slide, please. Again, I'll turn this back over to Housing Director Dean.
So no, thank you for that, Jimmy. So now we definitely want to take some questions. I see one question from Deanna in the chat, and then Karina will be coming to you shortly thereafter. Will this presentation be shared via email? It will not be shared via email, but it will be posted to our website. So if you visit the LISC New York website, and click on affordable housing and go under New York Land Opportunity or NYLOP. It should be posted tomorrow, the latest. Okay, so Karina, I'm gonna turn your mic on and you can ask your question. Karina, you're on mute. Just you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question. Okay, Karina.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I think that I was trying to click something else, but I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Again, you can put them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we'll come to you. Rhonda, you want to just post the timeline page so people can have a good view of the timeline and the schedule. Pastor Pert, did you have anything else to add? And I believe I saw Jason, our attorney, on the call. Jason wanted to chime in or add anything else regarding this process or what we're looking for. I don't see any other questions. I don't see any hands raised.
Yes, so if there are no other questions, I'd just like to express my gratitude and appreciation for all of the interested persons who are tuning into this presentation. And I'm looking forward to working with the person or the organization that responds and is chosen for this RFP. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, going once, going twice. Before we adjourn and I go to 3, okay, I see a hand raised. Okay, Miss Henry, from HCC, I'm coming to you, Miss Henry. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I thought there was no.
You don't have a question?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay, okay, okay. All right, still have anyone else with a question, thoughts, or anything? I see Diana with the hand raised. So Diana.
Thank you, Monica. I just wanted to ask if there's an opportunity of interest amongst participants on this call to team. I personally do consulting for government relations and community outreach. Is it best to put it in the chat so we have each other's information?
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm understanding your request. So are you looking to share your contact information for a possible joint venture opportunity, or how you can be helpful in facilitating a joint venture if interested?
Correct. So that at least I don't know who's on the call, but teaming to be able to fill the different business lines for the project to success. And so should we just write our contact information in the question and answer?
So yeah, if you have a question, you can definitely put it in. If you want to share your contact information with everyone in the call, you can definitely put it in the chat.
And the chat is disabled. That's why I
Oh, is the
asked.
chat disabled? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Rondely, are we able to enable the chat? Or you can send us an email at the NYLOP@LISC.org. And we will be happy to post, you know, your contact information on the responses to the questions.
The chat's enabled now. If you'd like to post in the chat, you may.
Okay. All right, so Diane, if you want to post your contact information in the chat, and that way everyone on the call, I do see some developers that I recognize who are here on the call this afternoon, which is great. And then those can, you know, who may be interested in Diana and her services can definitely reach out to her via email. Okay, any other questions from anyone on the call before we adjourn the webinar? Again, this webinar will be posted on our website. Rhonda Lee just put the link to the site where you will find the recording for this webinar. And so, you know, just give us about 24 hours and, you know, we're pretty good about uploading it to the webinar. And for those of you who did not have an opportunity to sit in on the webinar prior to this one today, which was for Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church out in Lackawanna, they too have a great, exciting project that they propose, and they are also looking for a co-developer. Last week, we had the pleasure of hosting a webinar for the Women's Economic Institute out in Syracuse, New York. They're also trying to select a co-developer. And so we, out of the 7 2023 NYLOP participants, we've worked with them to issue 3 RFPs. And so we have 4 more to go. And so the remaining 4 are in New York City. 3 of them are faith-based organizations, and 1 is a mission-driven organization. So just out of the total 2023 New York Land Opportunity Cohort participants, we had 5 faith-based organizations and 2 mission-driven organizations that made up the cohort. And so you can, you know, look out for those if you were not able to attend. Again, you can look at the RFP package, the timelines, everything is posted on our website. And again, if you think of anything after this call or as you were going through the RFP and reviewing the site plan and the information, you have questions, submit the questions to us by 3 p.m. a week from today. So a week from today, 3 p.m. this time, we will accept questions. And again, we will post responses to those questions by Monday, February 26th, if not before then. So thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. I don't see any additional questions, and thanks for joining us again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.